that. Like, she knows when she walks in the room, I'm supposed to be wanting her. She's supposed to be infuriated more than us about a man coming in the room wanting another man. That's the African way, not because it has nothing to do with us judging other people. That's not us. We don't even know what it is. We don't have a word for it. It's war at a level, it's nothing to talk about. The only thing we can do is discuss this blade. You want it on this side or that side. We're being convinced in their school systems, through television, through, honestly, through the opening of the minds of our women. We haven't protected our women's minds, and our women hold the culture. We'll fight to the end to maintain our manhood. And any violation that you do, you're gonna pay for. We're gonna always be men that love black women, that are gonna produce families and children and a culture that reflects our beliefs. Africa Roots Network. This is the place where the African story is told the way it's supposed to be told. By us, for us, no apologies. Stay rooted. Yes, they are. Amen.
This is just
Amen Ra.
bold, extraordinarily bold and direct title. What argument of that book, and what made you decide to make it public? Yeah.
Excellent question. So when we talk about social architecture, so once I'm finding these things out, I'm like, me knowing it doesn't help. You have to know it. Once I've got the information out there about all these different things we're facing, genocide and integration and all these things that the destruction of black civilization taught me, and I teach people in the Haitian Revolution, I'm putting the information out there, but now it's like, okay, it's good that you know we got to fight, but now you got to know who you're fighting. Well, we know it's white folks, and we know we got Arab problems, and we got Mobutu problems, our own people. Yeah, but I said, okay, let me make this an easier fight. Where do we start? What's the major problem where all of these issues are being spearheaded? There's one group that sits at the apex of all these issues. In fact, creating issues with our race, with other races, in times when we might not have been having any fight. But they come in and get us to fight each other. Now, when I figured this out and I saw it, what I recognized is that other people have talked about things they've done, but with social architecture, you don't do what other people have done. You're not duplicating. It's not about education as much. Architecture, you're going somewhere. This is a fight that we have to do, African survival in the 21st century. So what is the move on the chessboard to move it closer to where we need to go? Well, let's first identify the greatest threat on the planet. Why? For social architectural reasons. We got a lot of fights. Do you want to fight all of them at the same time? No. Take the fight that makes the most sense. Who's the most dangerous? The one that's creating all of these problems. The tree that's creating all of these problems. I studied it, saw it. Said people who say it in some ways, but they're not direct. So take away the guesswork. Say it directly. And since they're attacking all races, even if I've never concerned myself with other races ever, I got to save my own race. This is about warfare. Now I'm concerned. I'm concerned now about the opium wars that happened in China, because it was the Sassoon family that brought the British in. The British didn't go into China, went into China, doped them up with opium, and tried to destroy China. Why is that relevant to me as a black man? Because I want the Chinese to remember you were almost destroyed by who could then blame it on the English because they used their army to do it. Why does that matter? Because crack cocaine was put in my community. Orchestrated by who? Opioids are put in the white community in America. Orchestrated by who? Sacklers, anybody? So what happens is these same, in the schools in Kenya right now, you have a drug crisis with children doing drugs and their parents are going, what's happening? In Burkina Faso, some of that is happening. Not like it is in here in maybe South Africa, but we're going, where's this coming from? What I realized, social architecture. Once you realize how it's working and who's doing it, before I investigate, when you tell me you have this problem, I can already tell you who it is. Then when we go investigate, you'll go, you were right. How did you know? Come on, let me show you. What happens is with social architecture, you want everybody who's being assaulted by this group to wake up and realize, as much as we don't like each other, if we don't stop fighting and address them, we're going to wipe each other out before we even get to fight them. And so that's why I wrote the book. It speaks to anybody, because anybody that is concerned about child sex trafficking, the great thing is that I wrote the book, and at the same time, it's like synchronicity. Now people know about the Epstein files. So now I don't have to prove it in the book. I just write the book and say Epstein, and now you got it. I don't have to prove it. You go into the Epstein file and say, everything this brother is saying. Now it's like, I told you. So now it's like, okay, now I told you that. We have our issues, black and Arab, black and white and black and Asian, whatever we got, slow down. What are we gonna do about these? So I wrote the book because in a very kinetic way that is real, the most dangerous threat immediately for the world population is bioweapon warfare. If we as a collective world community, I'm not an integrationist, I never have been, but honestly on this one, every group has to wake up and say, we're gonna do something to stop the trying to destroy all of us. That's why I wrote book 1 of the problem and the second book, of the problem 2, the psychology of the Jew.
Wow. That's a very deep book. I'll actually tell everybody to go and read it because it's very interesting. Because there's 1 and 2. There's the first one and the second one that you wrote. Now, in 2023, you did share a platform with David Duke, former KK Grand Wizard. So tell us more about that. Why did you do that? What was the reason behind it? Just paint a picture.
Sure. Yeah. So in 2022, I had a meeting in January 2022, and I sat with a room of black people, and I told them, this is going to sound crazy. If y'all just trust me, I know what I'm doing. I said, in about 3 years, there's only going to be one conversation the entire world's going to be having. It's going to be who's the problem. And they're like, well, how's that going to happen? I said, it's going to happen because I'm going to make it happen. I'm writing a book called Choose Other Problem. And the room was like, whoa, brother. Oh, man, I said, don't worry. I promise you, I got you. I said, but I need to let y'all know one other thing, because this is not treason. I've thought it through. We're going to have something called cooperative nationalism. I am not an integrationist. No miscegenation. We're not dating. None of that. But these are a problem for everybody. I'm going to go out. You're going to say it's crazy, but I'm going to find the meanest people in every race that will fight and let them see what's really going on. And we're going to work with them. You don't have to do it. I will. To concentrate our energies on this one group. And so when I finished the book, I said, how do I get this thing popping and get it out there? And so I said, you know what? I'm going to do an interview with the most radical white individual out there. And he talks about Jews, and he's very well informed. And so I tried to set up an interview with David Duke. Now, he didn't show up. He got sick. I don't know exactly what happened, but he didn't show up for it. But I set it up and put it out there because I was doing what I told people I was going to do. We've got to organize. And the thing that I said for people that was so important about it, we don't want to work with the white folk we get along with, because we're not integrationists. This ain't about love. We need the mean ones. We know that they mean because of how they treat us. Them the ones we need, though, because we need them to focus their attention on their survival, which is at the hand of them. Just like we're going to have to do the same thing, because this group is attacking all of us. And so that's what I went out for. And I've been working with since that time.
Did this writing or meeting ever cost your credibility or relationships with the African community, Black African community, the lovers of history? Did it ever do any of that?
1 or 2 people were so scared and disagreed with it so much they walked away. But honestly, mostly people looked at me and wanted to see what happens because of my reputation. And what has happened is when they see me in these interviews with these white folks, what we're used to is when a strong revolutionary black person sits in a room with somebody white, they kowtow, they become somebody different. I'm the irritated genie of Soufeese. I'm talking about Haiti. And I'm not sitting there trying to love anybody, and I tell them that while they sitting there, and I let them talk the way they talk. So people are like, wow, brother. Mostly what I've heard is, it really makes us proud to see you be the same dude we know you to be. You talking the same stuff, the same way, but you doing it with white folks sitting there comfortable, and they're actually responding.
You, at some point, been called a government agent, a Fed to be specific, by people within you. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. To be perfectly honest, of course, I used to get angry and everything like that because look what I'm doing for my race. Da, da, da. But the truth of it is, look, I'm from Washington, D.C. It's a government town. And because I worked in government, of course, I understand you work for the government. You got janitors that work for the government. That doesn't make them an agent working for white folks. However, truthfully, if you're not from Washington, D.C., I get it. Historically, people who turned on us, many of them were paid by the government. They never sat in an office where you could look them up and see who they were. But nevertheless, people don't think that deep. They say he worked for the government, he must be an agent. It's ridiculous. I'm an agent for Garvey. I'm an agent for Matt Turner. I'm an agent for General Dessalines. But I understand where it came from. At this point, though, the good thing, now that I'm taking the fights that nobody, tell me who else is taking the fight against the homophiles, the pedophiles, people trying to stand up against Jeffrey Epstein now. I've been talking about pedophilia since the 90s. The homophilia, I've been talking about it since the 90s. The Jews, I've been talking about since the 90s, and I'm the one that wrote Jews Are the Problem. With all these folks that are talking about Jews now, why they didn't write this? It's an obvious title. Why? Because people are afraid. So at this point, nobody's calling me an agent now. Because if I was an agent, who am I fighting? I'm fighting the people who pay people to go do things. How am I helping us?
I see that. Now, in the next question, it's a bit question that brings me back home. When you talk about psychology of a colonized African mind. Now, we have seen it happen, especially in African continents. I would want you to tell us what are the symptoms of a colonized mind, and have you seen that in this country that we are in, Kenya, right now? Because we are talking about Kenya right now. We are in Kenya. You're speaking to the people of Kenya. Have you seen that type of a disease here in Kenya?
The easy answer is yes. The better answer is I've seen it in Kenya and everywhere on the planet. We've all seen it. Let me talk about a piece of the discussion that I think people need to hear because it helps people understand where I'm coming from when I say what I'm going to say. There are two groups of African people on the planet. The only exception, or close to an exception to the rule, and it's still not a total exception, is in the AES. The only people who in this moment have what we call the military sovereignty to say that they're on the way to being African sovereign are Mali under Baba Goita, Burkina Faso under Baba Traore, and Niger under Baba Chiani, working together to develop military sovereignty, to develop economic sovereignty, to say we are sovereign Africans. It's the closest thing we see to it. Other than that, there are two groups of African people. And this has been since we've encountered others and under the system of colonization or enslavement. To be clear, colonization, colonialism just means slavery. Just a fancy word for slavery, just a different type of slavery. Somebody else is telling us what to do and dominating us. There are two groups. They're the enslaved and they're the slaves. I'm gonna say it again. All of us are enslaved. What does that mean? That means that we have a name from somebody else that's not African. Why are we wearing a name that's not African? Because somebody took control of us. Why didn't we change it back? Because we're still enslaved. Our resources. Why are other people making money and wealth off of our resources? Because we're enslaved. We created cell phone technology, Jesse Russell. And every cell phone has resources from where? Congo, cobalt, coltan. The mind and the physical resource. But who's making all the money? Not Africans. We're all enslaved. This is what separates the enslaved from the slaves. If there's anything in you saying, I want to better my condition and change things, you're enslaved. Then there's another group. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. There's the slave. The slave is the one, even if you give them information, they don't want to use that information to change the condition. Even if you freed them and released change or gave them wealth, they would continue to do the same thing that they were doing. And if you said, hey, we can do for ourselves and not work with others and be even more profitable, they would say, no, I want to continue to work with the whites. Even if they have the most beautiful women on the planet and they have access to every single one of them because they're the president of a nation or something. No, I'm going to go get those who've enslaved us and marry his wife and give her the wealth. In other words, some of us have decided that we are comfortable being ruled over by others and working on behalf of the dominance of African people. There's a lot of our people like that. Then there's the rest of us. So when you say, what are the signs of the slave mind? Signs of the slave mind is when you have a beautiful black woman, but she's using skin whitening cream. So that's the only cream that can work on your skin. And why do you want to be white if you're black? Are white women using skin darkening cream? Are Asian women trying to make their lips bigger to be black women? Are they getting surgeries to try to be black women? What happens is there's a system in place that has made us hate ourselves. Those are the symptoms. You're enslaved, or you a slave when you find out the truth of what's happening and you want to continue it to happen. You get someone like a Mobutu. Patrice Lumumba was already won the battle to put the Belgians out. They were moving towards sovereignty. He was the head of the military. You're winning already. No. I'd rather be a slave to you and rich as an individual and keep my people oppressed than free to take the wealth of our country and develop it. That's not a person that's enslaved. That's a slave. They want this condition and will fight for it. And that's a war that we're going to have to fight, because the woman who doesn't realize that she's beautiful and wants to use skin whitening cream is one that if we can get her to find love for herself, she will throw it away and be happy with who she is. But there's another woman who will find all of that out and realize it's true and make the decision. I don't want that message out there anymore. Shut up, because I can make a lot of money with this skin whitening cream and it looks better, and I'm not changing, and I'm going to teach my child that, and I'm going to teach your child that. Stop trying to get free. That's a reality. And so that's what the slave mind looks like. And so it's not just that we have things that we have to recover from and improve upon. We actually have to dig deep and find out, who are we? Am I enslaved? Meaning I don't know any better, but now when I find out that I was taught to worship a God from a people who taught me to surrender and gave me a song to say I surrender all, to be a slave, maybe now I won't sing that song. It won't mean the same thing anymore. Or do I say, yeah, I found that out, but I'm going to keep this. I don't want to hear anybody else say it. You can't tell that truth to my child because they'll have truth and might want to be free. I'm going to keep them on this plantation in this same spot and in this same space.
A lot has been happening in Kenya currently. Young people don't like the current president and they are taking it to the streets. Especially back in 2024, we saw it in large numbers. When some of them were killed. And I would want you to tell me or tell Kenyans, what is your honest opinion on Kenya right now? Your most honest opinion about Kenya right now.
Kenya is honestly facing a decision. It will either be the country that leads the spark, not militarily, that's already started in West Africa, in the AES. But that will say, we are not going to allow our country, and then after us, the rest of Africa, to be eaten by our enemies. We're going to take it and redirect it and free ourselves right now. Or Kenya is going to be known and remembered as the worst treason and the worst traitors to African people in the history of the world. When you start talking about telling farmers that these seeds that your ancestors for thousands of years have given you so that you would never go hungry, you can't use them to feed your people. You must allow starvation to come in. You're talking about a level of treason that's worse than Tipu Tip, that's more severe than Mobutu, that's more severe than Compaoré. Some of the worst traitors, I'm going to say more severe than Nelson Mandela. I'm saying we have people who we've been taught to love who have clearly, definitively, Jomo Kenyatta, I got to be honest, he betrayed the Kikuyu, not even just Kenya, his own group. How do you make squatters out of the people who fought for liberation? How do you do that? Without treason in your heart, without the spirit of Set to your brother Asar in your heart. Asar went out and fought. Kimathi and Moriama and them brothers and said they fought. How do you do that? It's treason. I'm saying right in this moment, these young people in Kenya, you better hear this. You're either going to say, not us. We're not going to be remembered. Those were the traitors who led the way in giving Africa to our enemies and exterminating our race. It was us that did it. We were the ones that said, we knew about Haiti, these brilliant, magnificent Africans in the West who defeated our enemies, and we decided to be used in the international genocide trade to get paid to go kill them because they couldn't get defeated by white folks. This is Kenya. You got to make a decision. And it's not about protesting. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate it. I respect it. I'm not saying it's not the wrong way. Listen to what I'm saying. You got to make some hard decisions. You got to say, we as Kenyans will not go down in the history of the world as the traitors that led the way to the destruction of the black race. And you're in a situation to make that decision right now. Make the right decision.
Oh, that message has gotten home. I believe they will listen to it and they will actually replicate it. Now, we have Julius Malema in South Africa who explicitly speaks about socialist language, Pan-Africanism. Is he real, according to you, or just a talking assessment to just be there? What's your honest opinion about such people who really talk so loud, but you have never seen anything? What's your honest opinion?
Okay. With Brother Julius Malema of the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters, I would first say we need to fight for economic freedom in South Africa. So I agree with the concept. And any brothers and sisters who are doing it and are genuine, I support you in that genuineness altogether. My issue with Julius Malema is what you do on the battlefield. And I'm going to say two things. And I don't want to hear anything but an apology from it, because other than this, there's no excuse. I'm in America. In 2021, Baba Goita, Mali. 2022, Baba Traore in Burkina Faso. 2023, Baba Chiani in Niger. In 2023, in July, when Baba Chiani comes out and says, we're going free now, we've had 2 years of Goita and 1 year of Traore. How did I know to be going around doing lectures around America saying, yo, this is it, brothers and sisters. Do you know about these real, true African leaders? Freedom and liberation and the African liberation has started. I'm in America. How is it that he can get up in front of people and say, we've got to stop this from happening, what's happening in West Africa? They've got to be put down. This has got to be stopped immediately. We don't want this. Now, after the whole African community came back and said, no, then he came back and turned it around. But how'd you make that mistake after 2 years of Goita and 1 of Traore? That's enough time to know that this is good. It's one thing. And then a thing that I don't know if I'll ever forgive with this. We know that many people have an issue with some of the things going on in Uganda as it relates to Congo and things of that nature. Everybody has a right to speak out on behalf of the lives of our people. But President Museveni is standing strong against homophilia from a political position. He won't back away from it. And he's married, beautiful wife, natural hair. You can't take that from him. That man is straight. No matter what you say about him, you can't say that that man's not a man. When Julius Malema came out and wrapped himself in an LGBT flag and told the African world community to attack Uganda on that basis, that they're against males savaging males and females lusting females, that's an act of definitive treason, not only against the physical Africans here, Asar and Aset and Haru. That's our traditional African story. So what are you saying? Spit on our ancestral story? Our ancestors was wrong. Your grandmama wasn't supposed to be with your grandfather. That's what you telling me? Take that flag off or burn yourself in it or let somebody else burn you in it. Why are you wearing a flag that represents the conquest of the African looking like a black Play-Doh? What are you talking about, dude? I'm sorry about this. I got to be real about it. You asked me to tell the truth. It's unacceptable. We are African. A black man with a black woman and a black child. It's our way. We're straight, black, and proud. It's unacceptable. I don't want to hear any excuses for that. He's got to come out. He's got, for me to even ever hear him in any other way than a flaming queer, a freak, a traitor, he got to say, I was wrong to wear that flag. I'm supposed to be wearing a red, black, and green flag for African liberation. And I can't disrespect the elder. I can talk about his politics that I don't like, but I can't turn him into a homophile because I don't agree with him. When he's standing against it and I'm wrapped in the flag, that's got to be corrected.
Oh, that's nice. Now, let's talk about Yoweri Museveni. Yeah, we do understand that he doesn't condone homosexuality. But I want you to give me an assessment of his leadership, not through the homosexual part that we have covered already, but him as a leader who has been in power since 1986, and Uganda, as we look at it, to be honest, seems like it's a bit lagged behind when it comes to development and all. I want you to assess him and give your honest opinion about him.
I'm going to do that, but I'm going to give a very honest assessment.
Yes.
Here's the difficulty with this assessment. I was in a meeting in the U.S. I sat in the meeting that was presented as the Black International World Conference or something like that. Long story short, what they were talking about was trying to get Uganda. I had a guy sitting there asking the U.S. to overthrow Uganda on the basis that they won't accept homosexuality and other bases. But that was one of the things he was saying. And the young man that the Ugandan people love and saying that they want him to come in office, he was sitting there in support of this agenda. So here's my issue. If it's about, is Uganda doing the right things in the Congo? The answer is no over the history of it. We know that there are things that are corrupt and wrong that are being done, and it's causing death to our people. But to be perfectly honest, if you look at Uganda, and I've met Ugandans, the thing about Ugandans, it's a tough one. If we could get them, and it's not there, but if you get the Ugandan people socially and politically correct in line with African liberation, I've been around these people. The Ugandan is a wily individual. They're as African as anything I've ever seen. There's as much good and evil in Uganda as you find anywhere as Africans. But the thing is, you got Nubians, you got Acholi, you got Nkole, you got Baganas, you got so much rich culture. And I'm saying this because when you look at the history of our people and you look at the wars that were fought to free Kemet, they came from the south. They came from as far as the Congo. Uganda, that region, is one of the regions where warfare has been waged on behalf of African liberation for black people. I'm saying that to say, Uganda can do much better, but if we were to say that President Museveni, instead of doing better, has to be gone, the problem is when you look at the alternatives that I've seen, I don't know where we would end up. So we want something to happen good with Uganda, a change, but we want it to be a change that's a benefit to African people.
Now, I'm being signaled that our time is going so fast.
Okay.
And I'm actually been in this conversation, deep in it.
Mm.
And now, as we conclude this conversation, there's this question I want you to address: the relationship between the African continent and the African diaspora. You've been in both worlds. You might maybe be in a position to understand what can be fixed and what can be done to repair this relationship genuinely.
Okay.
Yeah.
The people who are going to repair this relationship are the people who are committed to the liberation of African people, not everyday people. They can participate. So we have to identify the true African liberators, the people who are committed to our freedom. That's the first thing. And then there's something that we have to do, and this is not just in Africa. This is in Africa, the Caribbean, the Americas, everywhere. It's the hardest thing I have to say in this whole discussion. For us to actually repair our relationship, each group of Africans internationally are going to have to identify definitive race traders, the individuals who take money or benefit to turn against our unification and our progress. And we're going to have to deliver them the most violent, brutal, merciless end to their existence that any race has experienced in the history of the world. So strong that at the end of this century, other races sing songs about the way that African people eliminated their race traders. Not those we have disagreements with, not people that we're fighting. No. Those who will sell the interests of us and our future generations out, we must remove our heart, remove any sense of mercy on any level, and commit ourselves to making every African born after today, tomorrow morning, to be more afraid of what happens if they openly betray our people than anything that our enemies can do to them or any gift and benefit they could get. We have to do it. That is the first step for all Africans to move forward. If we chose not to do that, we will not win. Because every Lumumba, every Sankara, every Nzinga, every Traore, every Goita, every Chiani, every leader of consequence that comes, Dr. Khaled, for our people, our enemies will find that African that will go out there and remove them. So we remove that element in a very public, harsh, unapologetic, definitive way with a smile and stand on it and dare anybody to challenge us. This is our race. And when we deliver that consequence, it'll stop. Because we are people of rhythm and spirit. We get it. And once we get it, then we can start actually seeing us move forward very, very quickly.
Thank you very much, Brother Ayo Kimathi. It's been an amazing time with you. And as we part, I would want you to speak to the people of Kenya. I would want you to tell them what you really want them to be like. Maybe next time you come, political-wise, the way you want them to embrace the African culture. Because you attended a Kikuyu cultural event for 3 days. Maybe there are things you saw there, maybe good or bad. If there's something you would want to talk to Kenyans, because it might help them. So say your parting shots, say your parting words as we wind up.
Sure. Talk to us directly. Okay. To my brothers and sisters and the children and the young people in Kenya, you're in a very important time. The world is watching you. You win this victory for your sovereignty. You remove the filth. You resist the temptation to follow the Western cultural mechanisms. And instead, You go back to your own culture and take the best of your culture and begin to celebrate it and exemplify it. You have as many tailors as you need to wear your own clothes here, wear them. You have as many people in media as you can need to tell our story the right way, start watching your own media. You have as many people that make the original foods and the recipes from your Kenyan ancestors, eat your own food, have it available everywhere that you go. You have enough history here as the bedrock and foundation of civilization in Kenya. You have a place here where the first tools were made. It should be crowded, not just with people coming to visit from other countries to see the civilization. Why isn't every school mandated to go and see in Kenya the great history and civilization that you have? Reinstitute your education as the Kenyan people to what it will take to be free and independent and be the example in East Africa. You were the first, now be the first to show us what it's like to grab your culture and your history and ignite it in the 21st century. I know you can do it. I know you're ready to do it. Stop waiting. Do it. I love you.